Hello, class. What I'm going to go over are some basics of how to put together an annotated bibliography. It sounds more complicated than it actually is, and I do hope that it's actually going to work this time. Let me just see if I can actually type stuff for you. Awesome. All right. So right now, I think it's you're seeing the screen of the Collaborate and the actual file itself. So I'm just going to make this be your focus and zoom in. Right, so an annotated bibliography is pretty straightforward. It's its own submitted document, so you will have your heading and title, heading being your name, instructor's name, course section, date, and title annotated bibliography. Now just break down the word of the title. Bibliography is another word for works cited or reference page, a list of documents or books. Biblio, being book, graphy being, list, chart, image, collection. Annotated is derived then from annotation, which is, to take notes on. So it's a noted up works cited page. So you'll want the MLA citations of your works cited page posted properly. And so go back to those lectures to cover that and how to do that. What I've done here is collected 3 sources of documents on the effects of video games on people. And these 3 sources were from our library database. And then I have 1 source that I found on the internet myself. Now, here's the deal. The citation from the internet database, in this case Academic Search Complete, does the MLA for you, and then your job is to transfer it over properly. If you are copying pasting, make sure that again you set it to double spaced and hanging. Hanging is merely that, as you see here, the first page or the first line of each listing is all the way to the end, and every subsequent line is tabbed in. You can do that manually, or you can set that in the paragraph dialog box, hanging under special. When you copy and paste over your citations, make sure that the correct stuff that's supposed to be italicized copies over. Anywho, that's the reference part, the works cited part. So what do we add to it? Well, if you'll see here, for an annotated bibliography to transform your works cited page to an annotated bibliography, you add a brief summary of the source. Tell me 2 things: why you picked that source and what's it about. Now, if you look online, annotated bibliographies will request you to do like 200 words per source, basically write or reword the abstract, not literally, but you're kind of doing that for them. I don't need that much. Again, what I'm using for this for is to see that by the time the weekend or the essay is almost due, you're showing me you found your sources. And from the sources you list, I can judge your progress so far. See, are these very basic sources or are these good sources? Most importantly, though, I also need to see that you've actually read them and you can justify why you're picking those sources briefly, because even if you have all this, you still got to write the whole paper itself. Ideally, you're taking notes from your sources, you're highlighting them, you're writing what comes to mind and what responds and what questions get raised, so that you're generating the content of the essay as you're doing your research. But if you just want to pile up all your sources first, well, you have to have consumed them and read them before you get to actually writing the whole thing. So, to reiterate, what do we add to our citation to make it a annotated bibliography? Brief summary explaining why you picked the source and what it's about. So what's the psychological effect of violent video games on children from the Association for Psychological Science? Now, this is just a blog post, so it's a weak, basic source. It doesn't even have an author. I looked up and down the citation. So, it's pretty obvious, you know. The reason I picked this one is because I'm not going to use it as an authoritative source. So I'm not picking something that answers all the questions right away. I'm picking something that's kind of like, you know, the gauge to see where professionals stand on the issue. And so this one, they list a few other sources for me to go to. But basically, this one is like my starting point. What do the experts think just off the top of their heads? Experts can still be wrong. Experts might not know all the facts of research. From there, I move to a number of other effects of video games on the people playing them. So this one is just literally blood pressure and appetite perception in regularly healthy people. Blood pressure is a good measure of how healthy or unhealthy you are, and plenty of people state that they go without eating during long gaming sessions. So rather than get into the politics, the attitudes or biases of gamers, I merely wanted to see what are the literal effects on the body of them. Again, right after the listing, I just type out my summary. So this next source, if it wasn't obvious, this whole thing should be in alphabetical order. So technically, Ciro's article should be first, and then this one should be next. Because if you don't have the author, you go by the title of the article. And of course, when you're citing it, I would refer to the Association for Psychological Science. So what's this next one? Reasons for playing casual video games and perceived benefits in adults 18 to 80. So, and this is from Cyber Psychology, Behavior, and Social Networking. A relatively new field, of course, even though it's 5 years ago. So, it's pretty obvious why I picked this article. You know, the majority of gamers now are moving to then being adults because there's more adults than children at the moment. My fingers are just slipping all over the place. Now, if I say 1 to 3 sentences, a paragraph about each source, if you can kind of imply the reasoning as well as imply the reasoning in the summary, go ahead and do that. So here I'm saying why I needed to see these benefits because it's part of my overall point. So this last one, I'll just give you a summary of it, but I won't actually type it out. This one looks at Korean internet culture, and you know, I'm probably not going too in deep with it, but cyber cafes and playing video games socially is a big thing in Korea. Esports is probably more popular there than here, not by much, but probably. It was one of the main places where that took off. What else? They also have the highest quality internet over in South Korea. Better here than here in America, even. And so this article kind of makes a connection to like that religiosity of this new culture, this new lifestyle that's sprung up in the modern contemporary world, and it it measures that question. And so that's, a societal effect of gaming beyond just the physical and the psychological. So this is my advice for research papers. Look at it from multiple points of views, but not necessarily people who like video games and don't like video games, but in this case, psychological, sociological, and uh, physical, medical perspectives on the topic. So just to recap, our annotated bibliography, works cited page, MLA citation, plus the brief summary written right after it. I hope that clears things up for you. Let me know if you have any questions.